Hi guys, it's Nina from VRFocus, and we are here today with
Nghia
and Pete.
So I just tried out the game that Pete's trying out here in the background. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? What's it been like sort of creating this in such a short amount of time? And I hear that this is also sort of part of a larger, I guess, project.
Yeah, we're building a world, right? So the idea is that the world of Crowe, who's our main protagonist, who's figuring out his place in the world as every young man does, is realizing it's a lot more to the world than he thought. The ancient ruins, the temples, and the giant statues are actually parts of a much bigger, world that's been left behind and by his ancestors. It's technology, it's their weapons, their mechs, and so as he kind of rubs off the dust and sees what's underneath, he's realizing what really they thought was mythology is really based on technology. Their own technology has been long forgotten. So the world is meant to be something that can be brought out in different ways. Traditional video game, more VR episodes, things like that.
I tried out some, so it's like kind of mech warriors and dragons, right?
Yes.
A little bit. Is that how you would kind of sell it? That was the idea of combining.
Yeah, a little bit of that, a little bit of the sci-fi meets the high fantasy. So putting giant serpents and dragons in with mechs, having AI fairy characters, so we have different scales of size that really play very well in VR also.
And there being sort of lots of puzzles and other allies that you have during the game as well?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, there should be like a different a host per adventure, so to speak, or expanding the adventure to meet other denizens of the world. To build up kind of this fictional community around the world. We'll have more introductions with enemies and so forth.
What I found really interesting about this was sort of the technique of teleportation. Can you tell me a little bit what makes this VR game unique?
In the teleportation, well, basically, a lot of people have teleportation as a mechanic, right? But most of it is through sort of a very short distance kind of teleport. With our game specifically, we can target either short distances or long distances via the weapon type. So, using the arrow, we can basically kind of shoot targets a quarter of a mile away, or a target 10 feet away. So it gives you quite a bit of range to kind of play with. We've got a horde mode inside the VR experience that's outside of the story, where you can test your kind of gladiatorial skills against all these drones, and it's just this unending kind of kind of swarm of drones that gets harder and harder over time, and then it's just a time trial how long you can last.
So what type of weapons do you have in the game?
Currently we've got 2 weapons that we're shipping with. We're shipping with a bow and shield combo, where you can switch between the bow and shield and power up the bow. Anything from a powered shot to a four split arrow homing shot. The other weapons that we're going to give you are mini crossbows that you can fire akimbo at will, and that's for the people who really like the dual pistol mechanic.
So I hear Michael Bay is attached to the project, and he's working together with you and Rogue Initiative. Can you tell me more about that?
The Rogue Initiative is meant to create IP, right? And we're using technology. So whether it's VR, AR, real-time engine, live action, interactive content, animation, it's really the idea of leveraging technology, latest, greatest, to create IP with filmmakers, ideally, a lot of it. So Crowe was our first step at creating something internally that we can use as a good proving ground and a blueprint to build forward, right? More and more content, higher end content, more established content that will live in other places such as film, TV, and so forth. Including with filmmakers like Michael Bay, who's been very pivotal in creating content with us. So we've built an IP with him that we are currently developing for multiple platforms.
Do you guys see that as the next big step for VR, working together across different platforms with sort of established filmmakers already?
Yeah, for me especially, it's been my passion for a very long time. I've worked with filmmakers of all kinds over the years, and also in video games. So taking those 2 big realms and putting them together has been my passion. VR happens to be a great bridge for that. There are certain filmmakers that really respond well to it and really love it and embrace it. Michael happens to be one of them, so we're very lucky that we formed a relationship very early on. And we've created IP that is very much something that works in all these realms perfectly. It's right up his alley, it's right up our alley. So all the synergies kind of lined up in this perfect storm. But yeah, as we look forward, all those things kind of come into play as we work with creating IP and using everything that we know and everything the filmmakers bring to the table to create something that's holistically bigger than the sum of its parts. You know, we've done a lot of games, right? And we understand how to create storytelling in traditional video games. And there's some hurdles to bringing it into virtual reality. For us, it's about building the world and then creating all those little slices of everything you want, dealing with characters, interacting, gameplay, some sort of challenge to it all, some sort of stakes, big set pieces. What else?
Yeah, for me, I'm on technical end because I'm like managing the floor on a day-to-day basis. VR has to run at 180 frames a second. That's 3 times the frame rate of Call of Duty, right? Because like we have to run 90 per eye to keep from getting motion sick. Trying to balance the cost of those assets on screen with like dynamic lighting and like really nice shading, that takes some like moxie. It takes quite a lot of like fidgeting with like the numbers in order to get that right. So like every day, like we get in like assets. Every day we get in features, and once those features and assets are in, then we run it against like the timer. We run it against the clock to see if everything still remains at frame rate. And that's like the big trick here is like constantly maintaining that 180 frames a second.
This is where I think game designers and people from our background, people especially who have been in game design for a long time, really come into play in VR for real. Because from a narrative standpoint, you have to be okay giving the camera to the audience. And that's something that game designers and game makers have done for a very, very long time. It's second nature. It's in our DNA. And then, with that in mind, pulling the player along in the story, right, and making it a compelling story, and having them have some sort of agency in the story. And then, there's other aspects to this as well. From the design standpoint, we're a little older, so we've been around during the early years of console gaming, and a lot of those techniques and tricks, especially when it comes to technology and authoring content, come back into play in VR, where once again, hardware is mitigating a lot of what you can do. So you've got to go back to your old tricks to make things look good. So this is why we can make stuff that looks pretty good. It's just a combination of old and new techniques.
Yep.
So when is the game coming out for which headset and which platform?
So we're targeting May of 2017, so very, very soon. Ideally, we'll have a staggered release with Vive, Oculus, and PlayStation VR.
And how are you going to be monetizing the content?
We're looking right now at a premium release, so there'll be one price, and then ideally we'll see how the community grows and continue creating content for it.
So you're talking about, I think, episodes, right? So
Yes.
you wanted to sort of...
Yeah, we're thinking about like having each episode kind of like a segment of like this main character's adventure. So we want to like say like every chapter is a different slice of the world, so you get like kind of this overall view as like you're playing through it, and maybe like have it more fleshed out in an animated series or like a larger console title of some type.
So you're going to be working together with a bigger game and animated series?
Could
and
be,
perhaps... Okay, that's very interesting. Where can we find out more information about you guys? Do we just go to the website?
Yeah, therogueinitiative.com, for sure, and we've got a lot of information up there.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for all of this. Please go to VRFocus.com and go to rogueinitiative.com to find out more information, and looking forward to hearing more and seeing more about it.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks
for having
coming
us.
by.